The internet is like an ocean, vast, chaotic, and mostly unexplored. In part 1, we skimmed the surface of the weird and darker parts of the web, uncovering online mysteries, conspiracy theories, lost media, and forgotten history. In today's video, we're diving even deeper into the dark side of the internet. From cursed media, cryptids, bizarre websites, unexplainable events, and more, things are about to get a lot weirder.
Need to slow down.
Before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure to join the Discord. Link is down in the description. And just as a quick note, while some of these entries aren't directly related to creepy websites or online activity, there's a lot of interesting topics that have been documented or discussed extensively online, respectively earning them a place on this iceberg. Also, while we might be covering some spooky topics, I can assure you guys that there are absolutely no jump scares or sudden changes in audio volume throughout the video. But let's not waste any more time. This is The Dark Side of the Internet Iceberg Explained, Volume 2. Genie. Genie refers to an American feral child discovered in November 1970 in Arcadia, California. Genie had suffered through extreme conditions and isolation from the age of 1 all the way until she was 13. Confined by her father in a bedroom, she was strapped to a potty chair or confined in a sleeping bag-lined crib for approximately 13 hours a day, stripped of any social interaction, language exposure, or nutritious food. When Genie's mother sought services to treat her own blindness, Genie would tag along on a trip where her mother would mistakenly enter the Temple City Social Services building instead of the Disability Relief building she had meant to enter. Inside of the Social Services building, a social worker realized the girl was over 13 years old but appeared only 6 or 7. Not only that, she could not speak, chew, walk properly, or control her bladder. Genie weighed just 59 pounds, walked in a hunched posture, and had underdeveloped muscles and bones, which doctors later determined were those of an 11-year-old girl, not a 13-year-old. Once taken into care, Genie was studied at a children's hospital in Los Angeles by specialists, including linguist Susan Curtis and psychiatrist Jay Shirley, who aimed to test theories of language development after early childhood. She quickly learned basic motor and self-care skills and acquired a vocabulary of over 100 words. Genie couldn't form sentences longer than 3 words, which sparked linguists' interests as it supports Eric Leneber's critical period hypothesis for language acquisition. Her early foster home placements included her teacher's home and then the household of researcher David Rigler, where she experienced relative stability and progress. However, after research funding ended in 1974, Genie moved back with her mother and later into institutionalized adult care, where she suffered additional neglect, eventually decaying the language and social skills she had learned. Genie's case raised complex ethical issues. While it had advanced scientific understanding of brain development and language learning, it also revealed exploitation, unstable caregiving, and neglect from state-funded care. As of July 2016, Genie is in California State Protective Care, and she is denied all interviews following her last in 2008. Mariko Aoki Phenomenon. The Mariko Aoki phenomenon is a strange and well-documented medical observation from Japan. Many people report an intense sudden urge to defecate upon entering bookstores or libraries. Although it's not a recognized medical condition, the phenomenon has become a subject of both serious investigation and tongue-in-cheek discussion. The phenomenon takes its name from Mariko Aoki, who in February 1985 wrote a letter to the magazine Hon no Zashi describing how for several years she consistently felt bowel urgency while browsing bookstores. That letter sparked an influx of similar stories from readers and prompted a special front-page article titled, "The Phenomenon Currently Shaking the Bookstore Industry." In the wake of this special article, editors and readers coined it as the Mariko Aoki phenomenon. Multiple theories have attempted to explain the phenomenon, though none are actually conclusive. One hypothesis centers on the scent of books, it suggests that paper, ink, and adhesives might chemically stimulate the digestive system. Another ties it to postural triggers. Browsing patterns like bending for low shelves or pacing could mechanically prompt the bowels. A more psychological explanation proposes a Pavlovian association to earlier bathroom reading habits, arguing that if you commonly read books or magazines on the toilet, when you walk into a bookstore, you might feel inclined to take a number 2. The last theory is more obvious. Coffee, which is often consumed in bookstore cafes, is a known laxative that may contribute to why you're feeling like you need to go. Despite ongoing media coverage, from magazine follow-ups, academic articles, urban legend books, to TV panels, the phenomenon remains medically unexplained. No epidemiological or physiological studies large enough to offer definitive answers exist. Still, a surprising amount of research suggests that it's far from rare. At least 1 million in Japan have admitted to experiencing bookstore-induced bowel urges. I guess we may never know why people feel this sudden urge inside of bookstores. Heaven's Gate. In March 1997, the Heaven's Gate religious group carried out a mass suicide in Rancho Santa Fe, California, resulting in the deaths of 39 members. The group had believed Earth was about to be recycled, and the only way to ascend to the next level was to leave their human bodies, which they called vehicles. They thought that their souls would then join a spaceship traveling behind the Halley-Bopp comet, which they saw as their salvation. Led by Marshall Applewhite, the group had spent multiple years preparing for this event, adhering to strict rules and living communally. Members rejected individualism, family ties, and forbid all sexual activity. In the weeks leading up to their deaths, they recorded farewell videos, calmly expressing joy about their decision, believing they were about to transcend their earthly forms. The suicides took place over 3 days. Members consumed a lethal mixture of phenobarbital, applesauce, pudding, and vodka, followed by plastic bags being placed over their heads to induce asphyxiation. The bodies were discovered lying neatly in bunk beds, all dressed in identical black clothing and Nike Decade sneakers, with a purple shroud covering each face. To this day, the Heaven's Gate mass suicide remains one of the most bizarre cult events in recent history, and is a really creepy view into how the hive mind of a cult operates. The most mysterious song on the internet. The most mysterious song on the internet refers to a lost song that was recently found. Originally recorded in the early 1980s from a German radio broadcast, a teenager named Darius captured it on a cassette in 1984. Nearly 20 years later, Darius's sister would buy him a website domain. He used this domain to upload and publish his digitized cassettes, and within that website, containing hundreds of unknown songs, there was the most mysterious song on the internet. Despite years of searching from lost media wiki users coming up empty, it still circled forums frequently, remaining unsolved for nearly 2 decades. However, the search rekindled in 2019 when the recording went viral on Reddit's r/themysteriousSong. Users combed the track for clues: the singer's accent, the instruments, synth tones, and lyrical snippets. The project eventually spawned a broader interest in similar unidentified tunes, giving birth to a loose genre known as Lost Wave. A breakthrough came on November 4th, 2024, when a Reddit user discovered an obscure German newspaper article referencing a band called Fex, who played at Horfest, an amateur musical festival in 1984. By contacting former band member Michael Heidrich, they confirmed that their song Subways of Your Mind was indeed the mystery song people had been hunting for 20 years. Heidrich provided multiple recordings, a 1983 demo and 1985 live versions, and the band had no idea their music had become an internet phenomenon. The Sun Vanished. The Sun Vanished emerged in April 2018 as a Twitter-based ARG. It begins with a simple tweet, "Help," followed by eerie updates. "It's late in the morning and still dark outside. Where is the sun?" The anonymous account, known as TSV, shared photos, videos, and polls detailing life in a world that had plunged into perpetual darkness after the sun mysteriously disappeared. As the tale unfolded, TSV would document daily survival, strange phenomena like flashing lights and frigid temperatures, and periodic interaction with followers. Over time, the narrative expanded through additional Twitter accounts and a dedicated Discord community, introducing characters like Tucker. These secondary accounts provided parallel perspectives and deeper lore. Tucker's tweet filled in gaps with longer stories, while Discord discussions turned into theories, fan art, and group investigations. All of these story elements baked within social media profiles and community services immersed people to a degree I haven't seen in other ARGs. There's real-time posts, pauses in activity, user-voted actions, and multimedia elements blurring the line between fiction and reality. Viewers witnessed apocalyptic chaos, encounters with alien creatures dubbed strobe monsters, and surreal effects like dark water hallucinations. Eventually, TSV posts would begin to dwindle. However, despite indefinite pauses in posting, the project maintained momentum, with fans expecting return posts, a planned short film adaptation, and an ongoing ARG universe. The Sun Vanished stands out as a great example of modern social media horror done right. Its haunting fusion of storytelling, audience participation, and atmospheric multimedia is exactly what other slow-burn ARGs try to achieve. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is a web series created by Becky Sloan and Joe Pelling. If you were a kid on the internet during the time the first few episodes were released, I'm sure you can relate to the experience of being completely traumatized by what you thought was going to be a cute puppet show for kids, but ended up being something much darker.
I just tried to think creatively. Now when you look at this orange, tell me please, what do you see?
It's just a boring old orange.
Maybe to you, but not to me.
Each episode starts off cheerful, with the characters learning about topics like creativity, time, love, computers, and other innocent things. But that innocence is gradually stripped away, and the viewer is sent into a terrifying world of surreal, disturbing imagery with body horror, psychological horror, and existential dread. A lot of fans of the series interpret Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared as a commentary on how media, especially corporate children's shows, sanitize complex topics, discourage free thought, and mask darker agendas behind smiles and songs. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is one of the best web series that I've watched to date, and I remember being horrified by some of the imagery as a kid. The series also sparked a lot of my interest in creepy and macabre media, and just weird stuff on the internet in general. If you haven't seen any of the episodes, I definitely recommend watching them after this video. 177076. 177076, also titled What Football Will Look Like in the Future, is a fictional web series created by John Boyce. The story of 177076 unfolds in a far distant future where humans have become immortal but also infertile, meaning no one ages, dies, or is born after the date April 7th, 2026. In this utopia, there's no fear of injury and endless possibilities, and society slowly evolves into a state of tranquility, except everyone is wondering, why do humans still play sports? Presented as a multimedia experience, 177076 mixes text, satellite imagery, and YouTube videos into a flowing narrative, posting daily chapters from July 5th, 2017 to July 15th, 2017. The story is told through the eyes of 3 sentient space probes, Pioneer 9, Pioneer 10, and the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer. These probes engage in conversation while watching bizarre football games across the United States. These games of football defy all modern rules and regulations of the football we know. For example, one game spans the length of Nebraska with a single-point finale. Another centers on collecting every football autographed by NFL player Koy Detmer. The story has been praised for its emotional storytelling and mind-bending philosophy. In 2018, it won a National Magazine Award for Digital Innovation and was long listed for the Hugo Awards, cementing its status as a groundbreaking piece of digital storytelling. In 2020, a sequel named 220 was announced, continuing the saga with the 111-team college football mega game, which you can also read at sbnation.com. Since then, Boyce has announced a sequel to 220 titled 221, as well as a physical publication of the stories titled 50007, An American Football Odyssey. Mike the Headless Chicken. Mike the Headless Chicken was a rooster whose decapitation on September 10, 1945, should have been fatal, but thanks to a precise cut that spared his brainstem and jugular, Mike survived for an astonishing 18 months. His owner, Lloyd Olson from Fruita, Colorado, stated that Mike could still perch, walk clumsily, and even make gurgling sounds. Recognizing this unusual feat, Olson began feeding Mike liquids and small bits of grain through an eyedropper. Scientists from the University of Utah examined Mike and confirmed his survival was no hoax. His intact brainstem maintained essential functions like heart rate, breathing, and swallowing. Additional physical structures in birds enabled his legs to work even without higher brain input. Mike's unique condition earned him worldwide fame. He toured the country in sideshows, was featured in Time and Life magazines, and drew admission fees of 25 cents. At the peak of his fame, Olson reportedly earned around $4,500 per month, equivalent to $80,000 today. Mike's story would end in March 1947 in Phoenix, Arizona, while choking on mucus during a motel stop. Lacking his usual feeding and cleaning syringes, the Olsons couldn't save him, and he died that night. He holds the Guinness World Record for the longest surviving headless chicken and remains the centerpiece of Fruden's annual Mike the Headless Chicken Day, celebrated every May with races, egg tossing, and chicken-themed games. Jody.org. Jody is an art group consisting of Joan Heemskirk and Dirk Paismans. The group was one of the first to utilize the internet's creative possibilities, beginning to use the internet as art material around 1994. They basically started the art form of web art. Their most popular project is their website jody.org, with 9 W's, which is made in very basic HTML. There's nothing necessarily creepy or dark about this entry, but the website is very bizarre and it's still fun to click around on. Changing the amount of W's in the URL also changes your starting page. If you have some extra free time, definitely check it out. Jim Pickens. Jim Pickens is a custom sim character created by YouTuber Call Me Kevin. The character is a regular on Kevin's channel, appearing in other games Kevin has posted like Minecraft, GTA Vice City, and Planet Coaster. The Jim Pickens character is essentially the main protagonist of Call Me Kevin's universe of characters. Jim's first appearance was in a now-deleted YouTube video titled The Sims 3 Let's Play Episode 1, introducing Jim Pickens, where he would build a small home, get a job as a criminal, and adopt a dog named Paul Pickens. Jim is now an infamous character not only for his abundance of appearances, but for his storyline, created through Kevin's multiple Sim series. In Kevin's Sim universe, Jim is a notorious serial killer who has murdered over 150 Sims in his lifetime, including, but not limited to, many children, his primary nemesis Dennis Rackett, and so many others. I won't be getting into the entire timeline of Jim Pickens because it truly spans over so many years and it would make this single entry over an hour long. There's not really much besides that. It's definitely an interesting example of a YouTuber creating a universe around a character that their audience gets attached to, kinda like Germa's Glue Man and Vinesauce Vinny's Ralph Bluton. Montauk Monster. The Montauk Monster was an animal carcass that washed up on a beach near Montauk, New York in 2008. A photograph taken by a local quickly spread all over the internet, sparking a lot of speculation about what the creature might be. The creature has leathery, pinkish skin with no visible fur, a beak-like snout, and weirdly human-looking fingers. Some conspiracy theories took off, with people claiming that the creature escaped from the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center, a high-security government lab in the area, which has been subject to plenty of other rumors of the facility being involved in bizarre biological experiments. The Montauk area is already infamous for the so-called Montauk Project, an alleged series of military time travel experiments that actually inspired the Netflix show Stranger Things. The monster mysteriously disappeared before it could be properly examined, with some people saying it was taken away by the government. No official identification of the creature was ever made, and it remains one of the internet's weirdest cryptid mysteries. Long Island serial killers. Just a warning, this next entry includes descriptions of a series of violent murders, so if you don't want to hear about that kind of stuff, go to the timestamp on screen. The Long Island serial killers refers to a series of unsolved murders in the Long Island area. Between December 2010 and April 2011, the remains of 11 individuals were discovered along Long Island's Ocean Parkway. The first bodies were discovered in December 2010, which were designated as the Gilgo 4. These 4 included Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. After these bodies were discovered, even more would be found. Those bodies belonging to Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, Karen Vergata, and a toddler found in 2011. Investigation began in 2010 during a missing persons search for Shannon Gilbert, whose remains were eventually found in a nearby marshland, 19 months after her disappearance in December of 2011. Weirdly enough, Shannon's murder would be ruled as an accidental drowning by Suffolk County. In March 2022, a major breakthrough would come when, during a reopening of the case, investigators would narrow down a possible suspect to 58-year-old Rex Howerman, a Long Island architect whose DNA matched a hair found on the burlap sack that was wrapped around Megan Waterman's body. Not only that, the Chevrolet Avalanche that he drove, cell phone tower history, and his internet search history further connected him to the locations where the bodies were found. Howerman was arrested on July 13, 2023. He was initially charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Megan Costello. Later on, he was additionally charged with the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Castilla, and Valerie Mack, linking him to 7 victims spanning nearly 2 decades. The evidence supporting their accusation of Howerman included graphic fetishized plans that were documented on his computer dating back to the 90s, which detailed how to dismember and, quote, prep bodies. As of June 2025, police have announced further forensic evidence tying Howerman to 2 more murders, and Howerman has pleaded not guilty to the 7 counts of second-degree murder. Hubert Blaine, Wolfischlegelstein Hausen-Bergerdorf Sr. Hubert Blaine, Wolfischlegelstein Hausen-Bergerdorf Sr. was a German-American man who held the record for the longest personal name ever used. His name is made up of 27 names. Each of his 27 names starts with a different letter of the alphabet in alphabetical order, followed by a long single-word last name. I'm not going to attempt to read his entire name, so here's Google Translate saying it.
Adolf Blaine Charles David Earl Frederick Gerald Hubert Irvin John Kenneth Lloyd Martin Nero Oliver Paul Quincy Randolph Sherman Thomas Uncas Victor William Xerxes Yancey Zeus Wolfisch Legelstein Hausenbergerdorf Wolchevor Altermoring Wissenhoft Schaefer Swessen Schaefer Wolf Legend Sorg Baltic Beschützen Voron Griffender Cherob Jirik Find Welchevor Alterns Wolf Hunderthauser Jaras Vorandier Scheinen wie under Stier Mensch der Raumschiff Genach mit uns Stitten Sieben Iridium Elektrisch Motors de Brocklicht Talsenor Spring von Krufut G. Start Sein Langfair Thins Wischen Stern Artigraum auf Daras Uschenik Bar Schafter Stern Welchich Hati Bar Planetin Kreisader Hensich and Vohinden 7 Verstand Munchalik Keiko. NNTE Fort Valanzen and Sitcher Freuen on Levens Langlitch Freude und Ruhemet Nick Time Fritsch Voron Griffin Vorender Intelligent Shopspin Hins Wischen Stern Artigraum. Senior.
And that's basically the entire entry. This guy's name is just long as fuck. 2 hours doing nothing. 2 hours doing nothing is a video created by YouTuber Muhammad Didit. The video is 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 52 seconds, and featured Muhammad sitting in his bedroom on the floor, doing exactly as the title describes. Nothing. The video quickly went viral, gaining over 3 million views 1 month after its release. The video has since been taken down. This style of video is very similar to another infamous series of videos I'm sure you guys are familiar with, Sitting and Smiling, created by Benjamin Bennett. Differently from Muhammad's singular video, Benjamin has created 327 episodes of him sitting on the floor and smiling directly into the camera for around 4 hours at a time. Over the years, there have been multiple incidents during his live streams. During his 5th stream, a burglar broke into his house, opened his door and said hello before seeing him sitting and staring into the camera and leaving. During his 52nd stream, Benjamin clearly urinates on himself, with the wet puddle seeping out from under him and evaporating over the remainder of the footage. He never acknowledged this or broke composure and remained sitting and smiling at the camera. During streams 238 and 257, he spontaneously burst into tears multiple times. These are just 2 examples out of the handful of videos of people doing this kind of endurance art style on YouTube. Mary Toft. Mary Toft was an Englishwoman who in 1726 was thrown into the spotlight when she tricked doctors into believing she had given birth to rabbits. Following a fascination with rabbits after sighting one while pregnant, she had a miscarriage. But after the miscarriage, she would claim she had given birth to a pile of animal parts. This prompted local surgeon John Howard to investigate the situation. To Howard's surprise, Mary delivered several pieces of animal flesh, which pushed him to notify physicians with more expertise. This brought the case to the attention of Nathaniel St. Andre, the surgeon to the royal household. Andre concluded that her birth was genuine, and she had in fact given birth to rabbits. Mary was sent to London, where she would be studied in deeper detail. However, during this excursion, she was no longer able to produce any more rabbit parts, leading to her confessing to the miscarriage being a hoax that her family had created. Due to the intense scrutiny and the waste of the medical professional's time, Mary Toft was imprisoned. In the centuries after her hoax was executed, the story has been used as inspiration for fictional novels and biographies of Mary's life. Men in Black. You've likely at some point heard of the Men in Black, probably from the Will Smith movies.
Philly, we called it bussing. You just bussing on each other. Oh. We called it bussing.
But long before Hollywood got involved, the Men in Black were part of one of the creepiest UFO conspiracies. Men in Black are supposedly government agents dressed in jet black suits who question, interrogate, harass, and threaten witnesses who claim to have seen UFOs. Eyewitness reports related to the Men in Black date back to as early as the 1940s and 50s, the golden age of UFO sightings. UFO witnesses of the time said that they were soon visited by strange, pale men in black suits, driving jet black cars and asking unsettling questions. These so-called agents often arrived without warning, knew personal details about the witnesses, and made threats against them to stay silent about what they'd seen. Witness encounters with these creepy agents have never been officially explained, and there have since been countless theories about what they could have been. Despite the media glamorization of the characters in films and TV, the Men in Black remain one of the eeriest parts of UFO conspiracies and lore. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy is one of, if not the most, infamous serial killers in American history. He confessed to murdering at least 30 young women across multiple states, but many believe the true number to be much higher. To lure victims, he would fake injuries, wearing a sling or pretending to need help. After the murders, he would often revisit the bodies of the victims, desecrating their corpses and further mutilating them. His killing spree spread across multiple college campuses, and despite multiple arrests, he managed to escape custody twice, continuing his murders even while on the run from police. What's especially terrifying about Bundy is his outward appearance. He was a well-groomed guy, as well as being educated and charismatic, which allowed him to manipulate people very easily. His image has also fueled a bizarre phenomenon online where people romanticize him. Tumblr blogs and TikTok edits glorify him, with the original posters and other users calling him handsome and misunderstood. During his trial, which was one of the first to be nationally televised, he represented himself in court. Before his execution in 1989, Bundy spent years denying his crimes, only confessing as a last attempt to delay his death sentence. He was sentenced to death by electric chair and died on January 24, 1989, at the Florida State Prison. His last words were reportedly, quote, "Give my love to my family and friends." Robert Cooper. Just a quick warning, this next entry contains descriptions of a violent murder, so if you don't want to hear stuff like that, go to the timestamp on screen. On May 25, 2004, the body of Aoki Albert Kite Jr. was discovered in his basement in Aurora, Colorado. Kite had been bound, beaten, tortured, and stabbed to death. His wallet and cell phone were taken from the crime scene, and the unidentified perpetrator would later attempt to use the victim's debit card at an ATM while driving the victim's pickup truck. The primary suspect in the case is a man who rented a room from Kite prior to the murder. The renter provided completely false information about himself, including the alias Robert Cooper. Witnesses that lived near Kite claimed the perpetrator would often turn his face away when people other than Kite were nearby. He is believed to be associated with the Turkish Hezbollah due to a similarity in foot flogging techniques used by the perpetrator on his victim and the techniques utilized by the organization. Witness statements and the perpetrator's DNA profile also link him to the Balkan area. Despite witness testimonies and DNA profiling, the killer has been unidentified for 21 years, and to this day, the murder of Aoki Albert Kite Jr. remains a total mystery. The Monument Mythos. The Monument Mythos is an analog horror web series created by Eve Casanas. The series is set in a fictional alternate history of the world where there are horrific secrets behind iconic major landmarks across the United States. There are 3 seasons of the series, with each season having 11 episodes each. There are 4 spin-offs of the original series as well, which are all pretty cool. Like other analog horror entries on the Iceberg so far, I'm not going to go too in-depth explaining the plot, as I think it would be better to not spoil the series and just have you guys experience it for yourselves. If you're interested in analog horror, I definitely recommend checking this series out. Wendigoon also has a really good video on the series if you're interested. Blank Room Soup. Blank Room Soup is a supposed dark web video that went viral following its upload to YouTube. In the video, a man with his eyes censored is in a white room eating a bowl of soup. While eating the soup, 2 people in these creepy costumes enter the room, petting him and soothing him before he eventually breaks down into tears. This video immediately gained popularity in online horror communities. Many were quick to speculate the true meaning hidden behind the video, with the most popular theory claiming the man and his wife had been kidnapped by the men in costumes, with the man seen crying in the video being forced to eat the remains of his wife cooked into a stew. However, there's no supporting evidence for this theory, and it's just something commonly said by users of the internet. So what's actually happening in this video? Well, the full story isn't exactly out there, but here's what we do know. The suits in the video aren't actually anonymous costumes. In fact, they were made by artist Raymond Percy. You might know him from his work on The Simpsons and the Snoopy Presents short films. These humanoid suits were actually named Ray Rays, a creation from Percy that he had sketched, eventually developing into a custom-made real-life suit that he would use for multiple performances and music videos. During an interview with YouTuber Rainbot, Percy would claim the suits were stolen following a performance of his. However, these suits would be reused in a music video from the band Stolen Babies, possibly disproving this claim from Percy. While it seems like this story is almost over, there's actually a lot more to it. There are 3 other videos released as follow-ups to the Blank Room Soup video. There's not really anything special about these videos. One of them is simply another angle of the first, and the 4th is really blurry footage of one of the suits standing nearby a bus stop. The real meat lies in the 3rd video. In this video, we see a man whose body has been completely tied up with rope being pushed by one of the suits. This video is really eerie, but it quickly falls apart once you realize who the man tied up is. The man is Gil Sharon from the band Stolen Babies. If you do a quick Google search, you'll find behind-the-scenes photos from their Push Button music video, where lo and behold, Gil is wearing the exact same outfit seen in the 3rd Blank Room Soup video. Once you've seen this video and know the actual story behind its origin, it's pretty clearly just a twisted art project by Raymond Percy, with possible involvement from the band Stolen Babies. To this day, we don't know the full story, and Percy still claims his suits were stolen before the first video was made. Still, this was one of the creepiest videos you could find in the early days of YouTube, and I can tell you firsthand that it terrified me when I first saw it. Flat Earth. Flat Earth is an outdated and scientifically disproven belief that Earth is a flat plane or disk. The theory dates back to ancient civilizations, including Mesopotamia and early Greece. But by the 4th century, Greek philosophers like Plato and Aristotle provided strong arguments for a spherical Earth. In the modern era, flat Earth theories still persist and have surprisingly gained more and more belief throughout the years. These ideas have gained most of their popularity through the advent of social media. Flat Earth believers are usually paranoid people who believe every institution is evil and out to ruin and control their lives, causing them to believe basically any conspiracy theory thrown their way. I'm sure you guys have heard about Flat Earth at some point, so I'm just gonna move on. The Grifter. The Grifter is an internet urban legend alleging the existence of an odd video that contains subject matter so disturbing that anyone who watches it will walk away traumatized. The video was first mentioned on 4chan's paranormal board, with the poster claiming he had watched the video and it affected him so deeply that it, quote, ruined something deep down within my soul. The original poster then proceeded to post 3 blurry images from the video file. I don't think YouTube would be happy if I showed these images, so I won't be showing them today, but I'm sure you can imagine them. All 3 of the images show a baby, one of them crying, one of them sleeping, and the other staring at something in a dark room. On September 8th, 2009, YouTuber Joe Jacob666 uploaded a short video titled The Grifter. The video featured dark footage of a hallway with distorted audio playing in the background. A video from another user would be posted shortly after featuring the images of a baby from the original 4chan post. But even then, none of these videos were the supposed original. After the story had gained some traction, people were quickly able to track the original images to the 2000 film Little Otique, in which a couple who can't have a child carve a wooden root out of a tree into a humanoid baby, with the wife slowly losing sanity and eventually believing that it was a real human child. The movie is so disturbing, it should be on its own iceberg in all honesty. And that's really all there is to this video. It was basically a glorified creepypasta created on 4chan that never evolved into something more. The Man From Taured. The Man From Taured is an urban legend dating all the way back to the 1960s. The legend claims that in 1945, a Caucasian man entered the Haneda airport. When entering and attempting to check in, airport security grew suspicious of the man, resulting in a regular passport check. During this passport check, the staff noticed on his passport his home country was listed as Taured, a country that does not exist and has never existed. As the staff grew more confused, so did the man, stating that Taured had existed as a nation for more than 1,000 years. Eventually, he was given a map where he would point to the country of Andorra, claiming that Taured should be there. Following this strange occurrence, security put the man in a hotel with 2 guards placed outside until he could be properly vetted. However, staff would grow even more confused when they later entered the room, to which the man was nowhere to be seen, vanishing off the face of the earth. This story is really popular online, with many theorizing this is evidence of an alternate universe existing and crossing over into our own. However, the story is most likely completely fabricated, as it has many similarities to a real-world incident that occurred in 1959. In October 1959, a man named John Allen Kuchar Zegras was arrested by Tokyo Metropolitan Police on the allegation that he was using a fraudulent identity to enter the country. On the forged passport, the nationality Zegras was listed under was a fake country named Negusi Habesi Gul Esprit. Although his passport had contained legitimate stamps from Japanese embassies in multiple East Asian countries, his passport was eventually determined to be counterfeit. According to Zegras, he claimed that he was born in the United States, and after serving as a pilot for the Royal Air Force, he became a spy for the United Arab Republic, stating he had arrived in Japan to recruit military volunteers. John Zegras was sentenced to 1 year in prison, where he would attempt suicide. After his recovery, he was released and deported to Hong Kong. Y2K, a postmodern RPG. Y2K, a postmodern RPG, is a game designed to look like an old-school JRPG, with inspirations from adjacent games like Earthbound. The game's plot heavily mirrors the real-life case of Elisa Lam, a Canadian student that was found dead in a water tank on the top of the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles in 2013 under mysterious circumstances. In Y2K, there's a character named Sammy Pak who dies under nearly identical circumstances, disappearing mysteriously in an elevator before being found dead in a water tower. A lot of people found it in poor taste that the game used a real unsolved death for the foundation of its plot. Beyond that, Y2K is known for its surreal and uncanny atmosphere, as well as its strange and glitchy visuals that help add to the aesthetic. I've never played the game and don't know much about the lore, so I don't have much to say, but if you guys have any thoughts about it, more specifically about its relation to Elisa Lam, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Dancing Plague of 1518. In July of 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, a woman named Frau Trophia stepped into the street and began to dance. She danced for hours, seemingly unable to stop, and within days, dozens of others joined her, dancing uncontrollably in the streets in a trance-like state. Some historical records claim that around 400 people joined in on the dancing, moving endlessly for days or even weeks. People danced until their feet were bleeding, until they collapsed from exhaustion, and according to some accounts, until they died from heart attacks, strokes, or sheer exhaustion. The event went on for weeks, and eventually the dancers were taken to a shrine in the mountains, where the dancing finally stopped. To this day, no one knows exactly what caused the dancing plague. Some theories state it was a mass hysteria triggered by extreme stress and famine in the region. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most bizarre and unsettling mass events. Odd-eyed cats. This entry refers to cats with heterochromia being very relevant within Turkish religion and folklore. Van cats are a natural breed originating from Lake Van in the eastern Anatolia region of Turkey. Within Turkish folklore, it is claimed that a Van cat was aboard Noah's Ark, and that when the Great Flood had calmed down, Allah blessed the cat with a rosy patch of fur on its head. In modern-day Turkey, Van cats are seen as a status symbol. A 1991 BBC documentary noted that all white cats are locally praised in Van, coveted by tourists and even locals. The love for these cats was so outreaching that when Turkey hosted the 2010 FIBA World Championship, their mascot was a Van cat named Baskat. That's really all there is to this entry. I do gotta say though, researching this was really difficult since I was just looking at cats on Google Images for like an hour. Great Moon Hoax. Back in 1835, before the internet could spread fake news, newspapers did the job just fine. The New York Sun published a series of articles claiming that astronomers had discovered life on the moon. According to the articles, Sir John Herschel, a real and respected astronomer, had spotted entire forests, oceans, and bizarre animals on the moon's surface, including man-bats, unicorn-like creatures, and blue goats. The articles described the moon beings in great detail, claiming they had built temples and lived in advanced societies. People crowded around the offices of the Sun newspaper to read each new installment, fully believing that the moon was inhabited by extraterrestrial life. Of course, all of this was fake. The stories were satirically written by journalist Richard Adams Locke, mocking the acceptance of wild pseudoscientific claims at the time, but the public didn't get the joke. The Sun never issued a retraction, and the hoax massively boosted their sales, making it one of the most famous media hoaxes in history. Unfavorable Semicircle. Unfavorable Semicircle was a channel that appeared on YouTube around 2015, uploading thousands of videos with cryptic titles, which were often just random strings of numbers and letters. The videos themselves were low-resolution, abstract visuals with distorted audio, harsh beeping, or garbled static. Some videos were only a few seconds long, while others stretched for hours with nothing but eerie noise. A lot of people believed that the channel was an ARG or art project. Others thought it might be a number station, transmitting coded messages on YouTube. Some even believed that it was a front for illegal activity or a method for communicating with sleeper agents. In 2016, the channel was abruptly taken down by YouTube without explanation, adding a lot more to its mystery. To this day, no one knows who ran the channel, what its purpose was, or what the thousands of videos truly meant. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was an animated Sonic series based on Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog video game series. During its run, a total of 65 episodes were produced and aired in the United States from September to December 1993. In 1992, DIC Entertainment and Bobot Entertainment would produce a pilot episode to sell the show. The episode was produced in-house and was only for executives' eyes, so it was unaired and not included in any subsequent DVD releases. In episode 41 of the series, a clip of the unaired pilot was shown on a television that two characters were watching. Another portion of the pilot, featuring Dr. Robotnik, was included in the end credits of each episode, as well as being featured in a 1994 commercial for the Fox 39 Kids Club channel. In March 2009, a video that was supposedly the full episode was uploaded to YouTube by user D. Variano. This version features no sound effects, no music, and barely any voiceover from characters besides Sonic. Unfortunately, this wasn't the full version of the pilot, and fans of the series had to wait until 2021 when Discotek would re-release the entire series on Blu-ray disc. This full release featured the work print version of the pilot as a bonus feature. I strongly recommend checking out the episode on the Blu-ray release if you haven't seen it already. It's super high quality, and if you're a fan of Sonic, it's a really great watch. Billion to One. Billion to One is a card from the ARG Perplex City that features a photo of an unknown man with a caption reading, "Find me." During the game, you were able to discover a hint line for the card reading, "My name is Satoshi." We already covered Perplex City in the last video, which I implore you to go check out after this one, but don't worry if you haven't seen it, I'll recap it for you. Basically, Perplex City was a 2005 ARG that promised a $200,000 cash prize to any participant that was able to locate a mysterious cube hidden somewhere in the UK. The cards in the ARG gave clues to where the cube was located, so this card was one of the highest priority as no one could figure out what it meant or who this person was. In an attempt to solve the identity of this mysterious man, fans of the ARG took to social media spreading the word of the search. Years after the game had already ended, Satoshi was still unlocated. That is, until December 2020, when Tom Lucas Sager would find the man and report his findings to Laura E. Hall, a fan of the game who had created a website specifically for clues related to the man. Laura quickly reached out to Satoshi, where he would respond with an email, writing, "Hello, thank you for contacting me. You said you have been looking for the guy named Satoshi. I am Satoshi. Yes, I am Satoshi, who you have been looking for." Satoshi Shimojima is a 49-year-old man from Nagano, Japan. When Perplex City was being developed, the author of the Satoshi puzzle contacted Satoshi via a friend from a PR company that worked with Mind Candy. Satoshi was eager to take part in the puzzle, so he quickly snapped a selfie while on vacation. It took nearly 14 years to locate Satoshi, so by the time he was found, he had actually forgotten the riddle he was supposed to give the person who found him. However, puzzle author Jay Bidolph would thankfully post the question on SoundCloud. The audio simply says, "Who died after giving birth to flames?" The answer being Izanami, the goddess of creation and death. WikiFeet. WikiFeet is a foot fetish photo sharing website that posts pictures of celebrities' feet. It was founded in 2008 by Eli Ozer, an Israeli computer programmer who now manages the website full-time, supported through ads and donations. The website has been subject to years of scrutiny and controversy, primarily due to its nature of posting paparazzi images focused on female celebrities' toes. In January 2019, WikiFeet would be involved in its most widespread controversy. US Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had recently been reported to have nudes of her circulating online. WikiFeet users cross-referenced photos of her feet with the toes in the supposed nudes and determined that the shoe didn't fit. WikiFeet users put their fetishistic minds together and were able to track the toes to Sydney Leathers, a woman involved in the 2013 Anthony Weiner sexting scandal. As of July 2025, WikiFeet is still operating normally, and you can visit their website daily to see the foot of the day. Lina Medina. In 1939, Lina Medina, a girl from Peru, became the youngest confirmed mother in medical history at just 5 years old. Lina was brought to the hospital because her stomach was growing unusually large, and at first, they thought it was a tumor. Doctors discovered she was 7 months pregnant. Lina gave birth via C-section to a healthy baby boy, shocking the medical world. Tests later confirmed that she had fully developed reproductive organs at an extremely young age due to a rare condition called precocious puberty, which causes early physical development. The case is as tragic as it is disturbing because the identity of the father was never confirmed. Lina's father was arrested on suspicion of abuse, but was released due to lack of evidence, and Lina herself never revealed any details about how she became pregnant. Lina's case remains one of the most shocking medical stories in history. Moon landing conspiracy theories. On July 20th, 1969, The world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon during NASA's Apollo 11 mission. But almost immediately, conspiracy theories began to form, claiming that the moon landing was faked by the US government to win the space race against the Soviet Union. These theories argue that the footage was filmed on Earth, possibly in a secret studio directed by Stanley Kubrick, and that the entire event was staged to boost American morale during the Cold War. Theorists point to supposed anomalies in the footage, like the American flag appearing to wave despite the lack of wind on the moon, shadows that look inconsistent, and the absence of stars in the lunar sky. Despite evidence like rock samples, retroreflectors left on the moon's surface, and independent tracking of the mission by other countries, these theories have persisted for decades upon decades and make the moon landing conspiracy theory one of the most famous conspiracy theories of all time. Illuminati. While the moon landing theories are incredibly popular, this next entry might take the cake. The Illuminati is one of the most well-known conspiracy theories in the world. Originally, the Illuminati was a real organization founded in 1776 in Bavaria by Adam Weishaupt. It was a secret society that promoted Enlightenment ideals like reason and secularism, while opposing religious and state oppression. The group was banned in the late 1780s and officially ceased to exist. However, according to conspiracy theorists, the Illuminati never truly went away. Instead, it supposedly evolved into a shadowy global organization that secretly controls world governments, financial systems, entertainment industries, and even wars with the goal of creating a new world order. These theories claim that world leaders, celebrities, and powerful families like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers are high-ranking Illuminati members, pulling the strings behind the scenes. Symbols like the all-seeing eye, pyramids, or hidden messages in music videos and corporate logos are often cited as proof of the Illuminati's influence. Online, forums and YouTube videos have analyzed speeches, hand signs, and celebrity deaths looking for evidence of Illuminati sacrifices or coded communication. The Illuminati is one of the longest-running conspiracy theories, probably because it taps into a universal fear, that we don't truly control our lives and that a hidden group dictates the fate of the world from the shadows. The Wyoming Incident. The Wyoming Incident is an early analog horror video that emerged around 2006, claiming to be a real broadcast hijacking that happened in Casper, Wyoming during the 1980s. According to the mythos surrounding the video, viewers watching a local news station suddenly experienced a signal hijack. The screen cut to a looping, low-quality video of close-up faces with blank stares, unsettling smiles, and flickering text paired with a high-pitched droning noise. Text flashed on the screen with phrases like, "You are in a maze," "We will control all that you see and hear," and "We are watching you." Versions of the story claim that people who watched the hijack live reportedly suffered headaches, nausea, and hallucinations afterward, fueling the creepypasta-like myth. The Wyoming Incident set the stage for later analog horror projects like Local 58 and Channel 7. The Wyoming Incident lives on as one of the internet's earliest analog horror projects, merging creepypasta-esque storytelling with unsettling visuals to create a new genre of online horror. Publius Enigma. In 1994, users on the alt.music.pinkfloyd Usenet group received a strange message from someone calling themselves Publius. The message claimed there was a hidden puzzle inside Pink Floyd's album The Division Bell that, if solved, would lead to a reward. One of the messages reads as follows: "As some of you have suspected, the Division Bell is not like its predecessors. Although all great music is subject to multiple interpretations, in this case, there is a central purpose and a designed solution. For the ingenious person or group of persons who recognizes this and where this information points to, a unique prize has been secreted." The mystery deepened when, during a Pink Floyd concert in New Jersey, the word Enigma appeared in bright lights on the stage, proving the band or someone close to them was aware of the messages. This was before social media, so fans on forums and in fan clubs scrambled to decipher lyrics, album art, and even stage lighting patterns, convinced there was a hidden message. People speculated the puzzle involved references to communication, isolation, and the Cold War, all central themes of the Division Bell. Some thought it was a marketing stunt by EMI Records, while others believed it was a deeper message from the band about human connection. Despite years of theories and attempts, the Publius Enigma has never been solved, and no official prize was ever claimed. Pink Floyd's members gave vague answers when asked about it in interviews, with some denying involvement while others hinted there was something to it. Publius Enigma remains a really bizarre, unsolved mystery and rabbit hole from the early internet. 11BX1371. 11BX1371 is a 2015 viral video sent to GadgetZZ.com, the Swedish tech blog that publicized it. The video is black and white and 2 minutes long, with its title coming from the plain text of a base 64 string written on the DVD. The video includes a person wearing a plague doctor outfit, walking and standing in an abandoned building. The audio is just a loud buzzing sound that plays while the figure holds up a hand with an irregularly blinking light. The film did not have any credits or anybody claiming to have made it. There have been multiple encoded and hidden messages found in the video, as well as images of tortured and mutilated people. A handful of the images were sourced to notable murder investigations such as the Boston Strangler. The messages and images have been interpreted by some internet sleuths to be implying a threat of bioterrorism against the United States, but others think the video is simply a prank or viral marketing stunt for an upcoming film, video game, or student film. After the video was publicized in 2015, it was found that it had been posted to YouTube several months earlier, along with the similarly threatening message in binary code. Internet investigators were able to figure out that the video was filmed in the former Zofielka Sanitarium outside Otwock, Poland, sometime between November 2013 and the video's release. I remember being terrified of this video and any rumors related to it when I was younger, and I'm sure anyone that was interested in creepy stuff on the internet as a kid can probably relate. 11BX1371 remains a really bizarre and mysterious video without much of a definitive conclusion or explanation to this day, and it has left a lasting impact on internet lore. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, also known as Sonic 06, is a 7th generation platformer that was generally disliked by fans of the series. A year before the game's release, a tech demo that featured numerous changes from the final build was shown to journalists at the 2005 Tokyo Toy Show. The demo showcased an abridged version of the Kingdom Valley level. This demo was primarily focused on displaying the game's Havoc engine and the multitude of technical advancements over previous games, like Sonic Heroes. Despite the demo existing as playable software for a limited time, it has never leaked online. However, in 2021, developer Chaos X would release a fan-made recreation of the demo titled Project TGS. It's very unlikely to surface these days, but I'd love to see the demo in playable condition. The allure of seeing a what-if scenario regarding Sonic 06 is just too interesting to pass up. The $100,000 Pyramid. The $100,000 Pyramid is a revival of the classic Bob Stewart game show that's been airing on ABC since 2016, hosted by Michael Strahan. Normally, each episode runs about 42 minutes with commercials, but in 2020, there were reports that 22-minute versions of the show were produced for syndication, but these versions mysteriously never aired and remain lost. According to listings and insider reports, ABC edited down full episodes to a 22-minute format to fill a half-hour programming block, possibly for local affiliate stations or international sales. These versions would have contained the same gameplay but with certain segments trimmed, rare ad bumpers, and different pacing that might have included never-aired transitions or edits. However, these 22-minute cuts were quietly pulled, and no clear reason was given. Some speculate it was due to syndication conflicts or the pandemic impacting distribution plans, while others believe it was an internal decision after test markets rejected the shortened format. Today, no known copies of these 22-minute edits are publicly available. Lost media communities have classified them as lost television, and collectors search for recordings that may have aired in limited markets or test runs, but so far, nothing has surfaced. This case is a really interesting example of how even recent television broadcasts can become lost media with no trace or signs of recovery. PBS Kids Play. PBS Kids Play was an online virtual world for kids launched in 2008. It featured games and activities with characters from popular PBS Kids shows like Arthur, Clifford, and Maya and Miguel. Kids could explore different themed areas, play educational minigames, and earn rewards in a colorful, safe environment designed for online early learning. While it was loved by many, PBS Kids Play required a paid subscription, and by 2015, it was quietly shut down with little notice as PBS shifted to newer digital platforms and apps. The shutdown meant that all of the games, user progress, and the interactive environment simply vanished. Today, PBS Kids Play is considered lost media, with only screenshots, fragments of gameplay footage, and vague memories from forum posts remaining online. Many of the Flash-based games and assets were never archived before the shutdown, and due to licensing restrictions, it's unlikely the platform will ever be restored. For many, PBS Kids Play is a nostalgic fragment of early internet childhood, a time when online worlds felt magical before the internet fully became what it is today. Abandoned. Abandoned is the tentative title for an upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive survival horror game developed and published by Blue Box Game Studios. Blue Box has described the game as a cinematic horror survival shooter that centers around a man named Jason Longfield who awakens stranded in a forest after being kidnapped. Following the game's announcement in early 2021, the game would attract a lot of attention as it was speculated the god himself, Hideo Kojima, was secretly involved in the development. This theory was caused by Abandoned's resemblance to Kojima's cancelled Silent Hill project, as well as the fact the director of the game, Hasan Kahraman, shared the same initials as Kojima. This wouldn't be the first time Kojima was involved in a pseudonym incident, as in 2015 he took on the name Joachim Morgan, going as far as creating a fake game company titled Moby Dick Studio. Following the widespread speculation, Blue Box Game Studios would comment, stating they had no connection to Kojima or Konami. This was further disproved when it was revealed Kojima was no longer working with PlayStation, but Xbox for his upcoming game. In the following year, Kojima wouldn't comment on any of the rumors regarding his involvement. That was until he took to his podcast, Brain Structure, where he would state he never took the internet craze seriously until he started receiving deep-faked images, which he would describe as a nuisance. As of 2025, Abandoned has been delayed indefinitely, and Kahraman has been recently accused of toxic behavior in a private chat room where he attempted a romantic advance on one of his game's artists, as well as supposedly planning to advertise the game as Silent Hill 5. The first word written on the internet is LOL. The first message sent over ARPANET, the predecessor of the modern internet, was in 1969 between UCLA and Stanford. The researchers were trying to send the word login, but the system crashed after they typed the letters L and O. When the system restarted, they sent the word login again, technically making the first letters on the internet L, O, and L. While they weren't intentionally writing the acronym as it's known today, this is still a cool piece of trivia. The Philadelphia Experiment. The Philadelphia Experiment is an urban legend claiming that in October 1943, the U.S. Navy conducted a classified experiment aboard the destroyer escort USS Eldridge at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. According to the accounts, the ship was absorbed into a green mist, rendering it invisible. It then suddenly teleported 200 miles to Norfolk, Virginia, then returned to Philadelphia, all in the span of 10 seconds. Crew members allegedly suffered horrific afflictions like insanity or even being fused into the ship's metal structure. The story first gained traction in the 1950s via letters from Carl Meredith Allen, which he sent to UFO researcher Morris Jessup. Later in 1979, Jessup's annotations would be adapted into multiple publications that helped popularize the legend. However, the tale was disproven by multiple Navy accounts, placing the USS Eldridge in the port at the reported time of its teleportation. There was also no evidence of any research of such, nor were there any crew testimonies supporting the story. Over time, the myth has inspired many books and was partially adapted into a 1984 movie titled The Philadelphia Experiment, where two men aboard the ship are sent 40 years into the future. Mortis. Mortis.com is one of the internet's oldest and creepiest mysteries. The domain was registered in the 1990s, and for years, all it displayed was a black screen with the word Mortis in white text. There were no links, no images, nothing. Just an empty, ominous page that felt like it was hiding something. Things got weirder when people started looking into the website's server hosting. Internet sleuths discovered that the server contained hundreds of gigabytes of encrypted files with strange folder names and indecipherable content that no one could access without credentials. For years, theories spread across forums suggesting that Mortis.com was a dead drop site for spies, a digital vault for illegal content, or an ARG waiting to be solved. Attempts to contact the owner of the site went nowhere, and those who tried to brute force or poke around in the server found nothing they could open. Some speculated it was tied to the occult because of its name Mortis, which is Latin for death. Others believed it was part of a larger dark web operation or a modern-day number station. In 2018, Mortis.com briefly went up for sale, leading to even more speculation and theories, but it was quickly taken down again. To this day, no one knows what was really on Mortis.com, or why it existed, and the site no longer exists. Nazi UFOs. The Nazi UFO conspiracy theory claims that during World War II, Nazi Germany developed advanced flying saucer technology, creating anti-gravity aircraft that could defy the laws of physics. And no, this isn't the lore behind a COD Zombies map, it's an actual conspiracy theory. According to these theories, Nazis either built working UFOs and hid them in underground bases, or they escaped at the end of the war, taking this technology to secret locations in Antarctica or South America. By the 1960s, fringe authors were publishing tales of Nazi UFOs that were tied to the occult or aliens, which is where this conspiracy really got its footing. This conspiracy runs super deep and has a bunch of branching theories, so I'm not going to be able to explain everything in this entry. If for whatever reason you're interested in Nazi UFOs and aliens, the Wikipedia page has links to all the related theories and origins of this conspiracy. Slender Man. Slender Man is one of the most infamous creations of internet horror. He first appeared in 2009 on the Something Awful forums during a Photoshop contest where users were asked to create paranormal images. User Eric Knudsen, under the name Victor Surge, posted black and white photos of children with a tall, faceless, thin figure in the background, dressed in a black suit with long, tentacle-like arms. He called him Slender Man. From there, Slender Man evolved into a creepypasta icon, spreading across forums, YouTube, and early internet horror communities. Stories described him as a supernatural entity who stalks and abducts children, causes memory loss, paranoia, and sickness in those who see him, and can teleport or stretch his limbs to inhuman lengths. Slender Man became the subject of countless ARGs and indie games like Slender Man, The 8 Pages, and fan art growing into a symbol of internet folklore. Slender Man's story would take a dark turn, however, in 2014 when two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin lured their friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times, claiming they did it to appease Slender Man, believing he was real and that harming their friend would make them his proxies. The victim, Peyton Leutner, miraculously survived, but the case shocked the world and left a horrifying mark on the creepypasta's legacy. To this day, Slender Man remains one of the most iconic horror and creepypasta characters of all time. Just Room Enough Island. Just Room Enough Island, also known as Hub Island, is an island located in the Thousand Island chain in New York. The island is known for being the smallest inhabited island, being only around 3,300 square feet, or about 1/13 of an acre. Purchased by the Sizeland family in the 1950s, the island has a house, a tree, shrubs, and a small beach. Silvagunner. Silvagunner is a YouTube channel parodying the video game soundtrack channel Gilvasunner. Silvagunner primarily posts tracks from popular Nintendo titles soundtracks. However, the songs are entirely remixed with meme sounds and other popular sound effects. The videos they upload get millions of views and appear as one of the top search results when Googling Super Mario soundtracks, which of course throws the viewers off when they hear a completely different song than they remember. Today, Silvagunner is still uploading meme remixes of popular Nintendo songs. Doggo Lingo. please bear with me, this entry may be very cringy. Doggo lingo is the cutesy internet language people use to talk about dogs online, calling them doggos, puppers, floofs, or describing them as doing a heckin' protect, or borking at the mailman. You'll often see phrases like such wow and very floof in the same internet humor as Doge memes and Shiba Inu captions. Doggo lingo gained popularity on Twitter and Tumblr in the early 2010s. It was quickly adopted by corporate meme culture, being used by brand accounts to appear relatable. The forced wholesomeness of the language is seen by many today as being really cringy and forever intertwined with corporate attempts to appeal to internet users. 33.3% spoon, 33.3% knife, 33.3% fork. This entry is about a spoon that's also a knife and fork all in one. That's it. Let's just get to the next tier. Tier 3. Mr. Black Darkness 666. Mr. Black Darkness 666 is a satirical YouTube channel that was covered in a video by Leafy Is Here in 2016. The videos that Mr. Black Darkness posted are obviously jokes and staged skits where he's made fun of by school children for being goth.
It sucks even harder than when I'm sucking on this fucking cigarette. Shut the fuck up.
Leafy would discover his channel and subsequently post a video titled The Saddest Man on YouTube. In the aftermath of this video, Mr. Black Darkness would receive tons of harassment in his comment section and other social media profiles. Because of all the harassment he had received, Mr. Black Darkness uploaded 2 videos calling out Leafy, one where he claims it ruined his life and that his girlfriend broke up with him because of it, and another where he takes a custom-made voodoo doll of Leafy and performs a dark ritual cursing Leafy's soul. Keemstar from Drama Alert would later gather the two to have a discussion on his channel. During this discussion, Leafy would claim Mr. Black Darkness was DMing him photoshopped images of Leafy being killed, which he confirmed that he was sending in retaliation of the harassment he received. Eventually, they would put their differences aside, and Mr. Black Darkness would make a video uncursing Leafy, which surprisingly might have worked as Leafy returned to YouTube 1 year later. That's really all there is to this story. It was just some silly YouTube drama that is hilarious looking back on. I hope Mr. Black Darkness is doing well for himself these days. Forgotten Languages. Forgotten Languages is an online group that has produced thousands of pages of nonsensical text in made-up languages. The texts on the website roughly discuss philosophy, artificial intelligence, and extraterrestrial life. No one knows exactly who runs Forgotten Languages. The site claims to be part of a, quote, non-profit linguistic research project, but some people believe that it's something else entirely. One theory is that it's a government or private black project experimenting with encryption methods or advanced linguistic artificial intelligence. Similar to other mysterious entries on the Iceberg, others have theorized that it's a modern number station, hiding encoded messages in plain sight under the guise of gibberish. These are just among the most common theories, and this website is a huge rabbit hole that I can't possibly explain in just one entry, so I'm just gonna move on. Local 58. Local 58 is one of the original analog horror series to hit the web. Created by Chris Straub, the series is a spin-off of his creepypasta story Candle Cove. The video series presents itself as a public access TV channel from Mason County, West Virginia. At the moment, there's 3 seasons, live streams, and a whole website that creates this massive story, so I won't be getting into it today, as I implore you to watch it yourself. I remember when this first hit YouTube, and it was fascinating. Little did I know it would help create one of the most popular mediums for horror art on the internet. The Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting. On June 24th, 1947, Kenneth Arnold, a private pilot and businessman, was flying near Mount Rainier in Washington. During his flight, he saw something that would change UFO history forever. Arnold reported seeing 9 shiny, disc-like objects flying in formation at incredible speeds, which he estimated to be over 1,000 miles per hour, much faster than any aircraft at the time. Arnold described the objects as moving as, quote, like a saucer would if you skipped it across water. When reporters covered the story, they misinterpreted his statement, coining the term flying saucers, which quickly became synonymous with UFOs in pop culture. This sighting alone sparked the modern UFO craze in the United States, leading to a surge in reports of strange objects in the sky, military investigations, and public fascination with extraterrestrial life. Just weeks later, the infamous Roswell incident would occur, further cementing the UFO craze. As someone that's interested in UFO sightings, I was really surprised to find out that flying saucers came from what was simply a misunderstanding by reporters. The Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting single-handedly began the sensationalism behind UFOs and aliens in the United States, and remains a really interesting sighting itself. Yogmaya's Jal Samadhi. Yogmaya Neopani was a Nepali ascetic and women's rights activist during the Rana regime. She would found a devoted following by advocating for social reform and righteous governance. When the Rana regime repeatedly ignored her reform repeals, Yogmaya escalated her protest to planning a mass immolation of over 240 followers. However, the state would intervene, arresting many of her followers in the process. 3 years later, on July 5, 1941, Yogmaya stood on a rock above the Arun River, donning a flaming oil lamp plate on her head. One by one, Yogmaya and her followers dove into the river, with an additional 2 followers diving in the following day. In total, there were 68 fatalities. According to the eyewitness accounts, as they dove into the river, they chanted, quote, "May the unjust Rana government be destroyed. May Dharma be established." Today, the event stands as the largest mass suicide in Nepali history. Polybius. Polybius is one of the most famous urban legends in gaming and internet culture. The legend claims that a cursed arcade game from Portland, Oregon in the 80s was so addictive and psychologically disturbing that players would experience seizures, hallucinations, amnesia, and nightmares after playing it, with some even supposedly committing suicide. The story goes that men in black would come to collect data from the arcade machine, leading to theories that it was part of a government experiment in mind control or psychological warfare. After a few weeks, the game allegedly disappeared without a trace, leaving only rumors and fragmented memories behind. Despite years of searching, no physical evidence of Polybius has ever been found. Whether it was a real government experiment or just an internet ghost story, Polybius remains a haunting piece of gaming folklore. Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. This was one of the first attempts at a permanent English settlement in the New World, led by John White, who returned to England for supplies shortly after establishing the colony. When White finally came back in 1590, the entire colony had vanished without a trace. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a post, and crow carved into a nearby tree. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, and no clear evidence of what happened to the settlers. There's a huge amount of theories about what happened to the Roanoke colonists, but these are among the most popular. Some say they may have integrated with local Native American tribes, like the Croatoan, to survive harsh conditions. They also may have been killed by hostile tribes or Spanish forces. Some believe they tried to sail back to England and were lost at sea. And on the darker, more paranormal side, people have tied the disappearance to curses, alien abductions, or time slips. Despite modern archaeological efforts, the fate of the Roanoke colony has never been solved, leaving it one of America's oldest and eeriest mysteries. The Walten Files. Okay, I know this is unorthodox, but I'm like 99% sure that everyone has watched at least some of the Walten Files, so I'm gonna throw this segment over to Steven, who's editing this entire video, who literally called his niece and got her to explain the Walten Files to him.
Hey, I need you to explain to me what the Walten Files is. I've never watched it, and I need to know.
Okay, so the Walten Files is basically...
I'm trying to make any sense because there's corporate businesses like Cyberfun Tech, and then there's also Bunny Files Inc., which are both, like, they're businesses for it, so I'm trying to explain what happened in Cyberfun Tech.
It's all going good from there until things between Felix and Jack kind of fall through when Felix kills Jack's kids.
Wait, so it's basically Five Nights at Freddy's?
It's basically Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a very complicated story because there are so many characters and it's based on the family, but then there's a bunch of other characters that we learn about in each new episode, so it's hard to explain, especially because we don't know who Vaughn is.
So it's basically like the story of FNAF, but if William Afton lived in a homeowners association?
Yeah.
The Evil Farming Game. The Evil Farming Game is a non-existent farming simulator game that was first talked about by Reddit user Sparta213 before being confirmed to not exist because of Sparta falling asleep while watching Vinesauce clips. On April 30th, 2016, Sparta made a post to r/tipofmyjoystick. The post reads as follows. I know almost nothing about this game. All I can remember is that it's kind of like Harvest Moon, but with a dark twist. The game starts out with you and your wife. One night, you get into a fight, and you end up stabbing her to death. Now the game revolves around you farming to stay alive while trying to keep the town from finding out about the incident that happened. Every now and then, the cops come to search your house, and you have to hide her corpse. I have no recollection of what console this game was for or when it came out. I know that it was released after 2000. I know this is so vague, but it's really hard to remember something you forgot. Also, it had to be before mid to early 2015. Graphics were not 3D. I'm 100% sure it wasn't a browser game. Another guy, who was obviously lying for attention, made another post using details from Sparta's original post and claiming he also played this game. Rumors of the game's existence spread online, with users using different posts as proof. The game was later proven to not exist at all, and the entire thing was built off of OP's false memories of the game. I'm not going to explain everything about this entry, as it literally doesn't exist, but Wang has multiple videos on it if you're interested.
Honestly, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Harvest Moon, but with, like, corpses. It sounds like... That'd be a fun game. You're just playing as Harvest Moon, but throughout all the gameplay, you gotta hide a dead corpse. You know what? No, fuck. You know what it is? Harvest Moon. It's just regular Harvest Moon with your wife, and midway in the game, you have an argument with your wife, and you accidentally kill her with a saw blade. No, fuck it. You kill her with like a barbecue kebab rack. You impale her accidentally, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't mean that.
Hollow Earth. The Hollow Earth concept proposes that the Earth contains an interior world within it. This theory has been seen in a multitude of fiction, conspiracy theories, and real scientific papers covering the subject. In ancient times, the concept of a hollow Earth wasn't so unbelievable, with many cultures and religions connecting the idea to the afterlife, like Christianity's hell. Later, in the 16th century, the non-fiction novel Mundus Subterraneus claimed there was an intricate system of cavities and channels of water connecting the North and Southern Pole. In 1818, John Cleves Siems Jr. would suggest the Earth contained a hollow shell with multiple entry points at both poles. This idea was later adapted into multiple non-fiction books, further developing the theory. For example, in William Fairfield Warren's book, Paradise Found, the cradle of the human race at the North Pole, he presented the idea that humanity began on a continent in the Arctic called Hyperborea. He also proposed that every mythical land were actually folk memories of a far distant time when man was originally created. Like, this guy literally claimed that Atlantis was located under the North Pole. Anyways, humans have speculated about a possible ancient Hollow Earth society for centuries now, and if you ever want to see one, go watch that Godzilla movie from a couple years ago. They give King Kong a big robot fist, and it's just as cool as you probably think it is. The Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society is exactly what it sounds like. A group of people who believe the Earth is flat, not a sphere. While Flat Earth beliefs have existed for centuries, the Flat Earth Society itself was formally established in 1956 by Samuel Shenton, later gaining public attention under the leadership of Charles K. Johnson in the 1970s. Since we've already covered Flat Earth in an earlier entry, I'm not going to go too in-depth on this one. It kinda speaks for itself. Moving on. JAT Flight 367. On January 26, 1972, JAT Flight 367, a Yugoslavian DC-9 airliner, was flying from Stockholm to Belgrade when it exploded mid-air over Czechoslovakia, breaking apart at 33,000 feet. The cause of the explosion was later determined to be a briefcase bomb placed in the baggage compartment, though no group was definitively held responsible. Out of all 28 passengers and crew on board, only one person survived, Vesna Vuvalic, a 22-year-old flight attendant. Vesna was found alive in the wreckage, pinned by a food cart in the fuselage after falling over 33,000 feet without a parachute, earning her a place in the Guinness World Records for the highest fall survived without a parachute. Vesna suffered numerous injuries, including a fractured skull, broken legs, and was temporarily paralyzed, but she recovered and lived until 2016. JAT Flight 367 remains one of the most improbable survival stories in aviation history, as well as stumping investigators in regard to what group carried out the bombing, or if it was a bomb that even caused the explosion in the first place. Brian Schaefer. Brian Schaefer is an American medical student who has been missing since April 1st, 2006. On the evening of March 31st, 2006, Brian joined his friends at a bar to celebrate the start of spring break. Later on in the evening, near the early morning hours, Brian was separated from the group, and they had assumed he simply went home. However, Brian was spotted on CCTV footage talking to two women on the second floor of the bar. In this CCTV footage, he is seen walking away from the group of women. After this, Brian Schaefer was never seen again. Brian's disappearance is incredibly puzzling, as there is zero evidence of him popping up anywhere else after he was last seen on security camera footage. Columbus, Ohio police have proposed several theories. One theory posits that one of Brian's friends did something to him, as when they went to interview the group he was last seen with, one of them refused a polygraph test regarding the incident. It has also been theorized that the smiley face killer was involved in his disappearance. The only possible lead to where Brian currently is was provided in September 2008 following his father Randy Schaefer's death. Once Randy's obituary was posted online, it received a signature possibly from Brian saying, "To Dad, love Brian." Upon further investigation, it was determined that this post was likely a hoax and it was posted from a public computer in Franklin County. In 2019, an image of a homeless American man in Tijuana, Mexico circulated online, with many people believing the man in the photo was Brian. However, FBI facial recognition analysis determined that the man was not Schaefer. As of 2025, the search for Brian still continues in Columbus and multiple internet communities. In 2021, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation released an age-progressed photo of what Brian could possibly look like today. If you have any information regarding Brian's disappearance, you can submit a tip through the FBI's Missing Persons website. The Ghost Breaker. The Ghost Breaker is a lost film from 1914 starring H.B. Warner. The movie was based on the 1909 Broadway play of the same name. Weirdly enough, another adaptation of the play would release in 1922, which has also been lost to time. The plot is pretty simple and follows the Broadway play pretty closely. Here's a literal summary for those interested. Princess Maria Theresa discovers a text detailing a locket that leads to the Aragon family treasure. Unfortunately for Maria, her maid Carmencita steals the text and sells it. Mischievous nobleman Duke d'Alva overhears Maria's discovery and starts secretly pursuing the treasure as well. After that, a bunch of other characters get involved, ultimately leading to Maria falling in love with a man named Jarvis and fleeing with the treasure into the sunset. Even though the film was shown all the way until 1917 in multiple theaters, no existing prints have surfaced online, with the only existing media being a few stills. Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets is an analog horror series created in 2009 by Troy Wagner and Joseph Delage, inspired by early Slender Man creepypasta stories. In fact, it was so early in the Slender Man mythos, the first episode was released only 10 days after the initial Slender Man Photoshop contest. With an initial budget of just $500, Troy and Joseph created 26 entries for the series. It eventually matured into a pillar of the Slenderverse and established early analog horror tropes that are still seen to this day, like ARG elements and that iconic VHS aesthetic. Marble Hornets has over 300 episodes spanning over 3 seasons, so I won't be covering it fully today, but maybe sometime in the future, as this is one of the earliest analog horror series ever created. Kanye Quest 3030. Kanye Quest 3030 is an indie RPG maker game that was released in 2013, described as a satirical, fan-made RPG starring Kanye West. In the game, Kanye is transported to the year 3030 and must battle clones of rappers like Tupac, Eminem, and MF Doom in a bizarre hip-hop-centric future. On the surface, the game seems like a silly parody RPG, but upon closer inspection, internet users discovered a hidden section tied to a mysterious cult-like group called Ascensionism. In 2015, a player found a secret event where, if you entered the word Ascend into an in-game terminal, the game would break from its normal aesthetic, displaying glitchy, unsettling visuals and cryptic instructions. It asked players personal questions about their beliefs and willingness to ascend, even requesting that players submit their personal information. The hidden segment claimed to be part of an ascension experiment, with cryptic messages implying the player would be contacted in the future. This discovery led to theories that Kanye Quest 3030 was not just a parody game, but a recruitment tool for a real-world cult, a social experiment, or simply an ARG testing players' reactions to cult indoctrination tactics. People tried to track down the creator, but they went silent, and any official channels for the game disappeared. To this day, the true purpose of Kanye Quest 3030 and its Ascensionism ending remains unsolved. Danish Protest Pig. This next entry might sound like a meme, but it's actually a real piece of hidden history tied to resistance and cultural defiance. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Danish farmers living in the Schleswig region, a disputed area between Denmark and Germany, were under Prussian rule, which banned them from displaying the Danish flag. In response, these farmers found a creative way of protesting. They bred the pig with a red fur and a white stripe running down its back, resembling the Danish flag. This breed became known as the Danish Protest Pig, or Protestschwein. The protest pig allowed Danish farmers to quietly defy German authorities, showing their national pride without risking punishment. The pig itself was large, sturdy, and friendly, becoming a symbol of quiet rebellion during a time when even the smallest acts of cultural or national pride could lead to massive consequences. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is a philosophical and intellectual movement that studies the enhancement of the human condition through theoretical technology. More specifically, they primarily contemplate overcoming human limitations with stuff like gene editing, artificial intelligence, nanotech, cryogenics, and much more. Transhumanism has deep historical roots, establishing itself in many forms over centuries of philosophical and scientific thought pieces. We have the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Divine Comedy, Descartes' Meditations, and the list goes on. In the 1990s, the movement would start to see its first organizations begin, the most popular being Max Moore's philosophy of extropy, officially founding the Extropy Institute, as well as Bostrom and Pierce's World Transhumanist Association. Basically, almost every movement seeks to reduce overall human suffering and extend the lifespan in the near future. However, their movement doesn't come without some criticism. In this day and age, AI is such a point of controversy. I mean, it's already replaced my local Krispy Kreme.
I want 10 million donuts.
Got it. Would you like to add a chocolate milk?
10 million, please.
Okay.
There are a plethora of authors that have written about this very subject and its possible consequences, including but not limited to William Gibson's fantastic cyberpunk novel Neuromancer and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. The Phoenix Lights. On the night of March 13th, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona and Nevada reported seeing strange lights in the sky. Witnesses described a massive, V-shaped formation of glowing orbs moving silently overhead, which was so large it blocked out the stars it passed. At around 7:30 p.m., people made the first reports of a V-shaped craft with 5 lights moving slowly across the state. Then, later that night, a series of stationary lights appeared over Phoenix, hovering in the sky for hours. Police, air traffic controllers, and civilians all reported the phenomenon, and there are even videos capturing the lights. The US military later claimed the stationary lights were flares dropped during a training exercise, but many witnesses refused to accept this explanation, saying that the lights moved in formation, made no sound, and were far too large to be flares. To this day, the Phoenix Lights remain one of the eeriest and most compelling unsolved UFO cases. Hanako San. Hanako San is a Japanese urban legend about the spirit of a young girl who haunts bathrooms. The legend reportedly originates from the 1950s, commonly spread by gossiping schoolgirls. The origin of the legend isn't particularly known, but many believe it was most likely created shortly after World War II, as one of the primary stories surrounding the legend claims that Hanako San is the ghost of a girl who was killed while playing outside during an air raid. In other versions of the story, Hanako is often described as a young girl with a bobbed haircut that was murdered by her abusive parents in a school bathroom. Although the urban legend is mostly dated, the popularity of the legend still persists in various media. Most of you have probably heard about the anime Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which is actually based off of this legend. There's also a Kiyoshi Kurosawa short film centered around the legend. I highly recommend you check out Kurosawa's film Pulse. It is genuinely the scariest movie I have ever seen. Laughing Horses Orphis Headquarters. While there's not really enough information available about this entry to really give a comprehensive explanation of what it truly is, I'm gonna do my best to explain it. Laughing Horses Orphis Headquarters is referring to a website, lhohg.info. The homepage shows a flashing green octopus-like creature, along with some completely unrelated text about retirement plans and some phone numbers, as well as this really creepy black and white image of some kind of party with a guy wearing a Mickey Mouse mask staring directly into the camera. Clicking the Russian text on the homepage will redirect you to a page including a single photo of Ronald McDonald standing and smiling with a police officer. And that's where I'm going to stop explaining exactly how the site operates. Clicking different sections of the page will send you down an endless rabbit hole of subpages with different images, shapes, and schizophrenic rambling. The website is kind of an internet mystery that's sometimes loosely labeled as an ARG, although it's not technically a playable or interactive game. The website describes itself as, quote, leading neurolinguistic programmers of post-hypnotic operating systems for distributed computing over human botnets. Whatever that means. There's a Twitter account with the handle u/LH0HQ, which appears to be associated with the website and describes itself in a similar way. And that's all we really know about this website. Whether it's an ARG, some insane person's creation, or something darker, we may never know. If you want to check out the website for yourself, go ahead, but please be advised that there's a lot of flashing lights, and if you're epileptic or simply sensitive to that kind of imagery, definitely don't go to the URL. thispersondoesnotexist.com. At first glance, this website seems simple. Every time you refresh the page, it shows you a new photo of a human face. But here's the unsettling part. None of these people are real. Thispersondoesnotexist.com was launched in 2019 by developer Philip Wang to demonstrate the power of generative adversarial networks, a type of AI that can generate photorealistic images by training on thousands of real photos. Each time you load the site, the AI generates a completely new face, creating people who look convincingly real but have never existed. It's obviously fascinating technology, but it also feels really creepy and unsettling. Levelland UFO Case. The Levelland UFO case occurred during November 2nd and 3rd of 1957 on the highways around the small town of Levelland, Texas. In 1957, the town only had about 10,000 people living there, so when a large number of witnesses reported seeing strange objects in the sky, UFO conspiracy theorists quickly started believing in this small-town mystery. On the night of November 2nd, 1957, two farmers, Pedro Saucedo and Joe Salaz, contacted the Levelland Police Department reporting they had spotted a UFO. Saucedo told police officer A.G. Fowler that they had been driving 4 miles west of Levelland when they saw a blue light quickly flash near the road. When the blue light was spotted, their truck's engine died, and a rocket-shaped object appeared floating towards the truck. Saucedo told the police officer, quote, "I jumped out the truck and hit the dirt because I was afraid. I called out to Joe, but he didn't get out. The thing passed directly over my big truck with a great sound and a rush of wind. It sounded like thunder, and my truck rocked from the flash. I felt a lot of heat." Officer Fowler assumed this was a prank call, so he didn't think anything of it. However, another report would come in from motorist Jim Wheeler reporting he saw a bright egg-shaped object about 200 feet long sitting in the road. He also claimed that his vehicle died, and as he got out of his car, the object took off, quickly shutting off its bright lights. As the ship flew away, Wheeler's car began to restart and work normally. This exact same situation would be described by 6 subsequent people, all stating they spotted an impossibly long egg-shaped object along the road, which by the time they spotted it, completely disabled their car from working until it eventually left. By the time these 8 reports came in, several Levelland police officers were attempting to investigate the claims made by callers. Sheriff Ware Clem stated he spotted a brilliant red object moving in the sky at 1:30 a.m. Additionally, Fire Chief Ray Jones claimed he also saw an object when his vehicle's lights and engine began to sputter. During that stretch of about 4 hours, Levelland police received 15 UFO reports. Following the reported sighting, the United States Air Force assigned a research group to investigate the reports. After getting a statement from 3 eyewitnesses and discovering there were thunderstorms in the area days before the sighting occurred, the research group concluded that a severe electrical storm was the cause of the sightings. This is by far one of the most unique UFO cases I've read into. There's an entire book worth of accounts from locals who witnessed the exact same object and effects. Imagine something like that happening to you in 1957, before social media, before the internet. It's just absurd. I can't possibly envision how I would react to something like this. A858. A858 is a subreddit that appeared online in 2011 with posts consisting of seemingly random strings of letters and numbers, long codes with no clear meaning. At first, people ignored it, assuming it was probably just spam or nonsense. But as the posts continued, users became intrigued, believing it was a puzzle or an ARG. Communities formed to try to decode the strings, working tirelessly to find patterns within the endless walls of hexadecimal characters. Occasionally, messages were successfully deciphered, revealing cryptic phrases like, "The fate of the world rests in the hands of a single individual," or "It was a good game." Some posts were decoded into image files, while others led nowhere, adding to the mystery. The moderators of the subreddit provided no explanations, maintaining strict control and removing off-topic discussions. Then, in 2016, the subreddit posted, "The A858 project has concluded. You may unsubscribe." The post stopped, and the subreddit went silent, leaving the community with no definitive answers. Users have multiple theories as to what the subreddit may have been, ranging from an advanced cryptography experiment, recruitment for intelligence agencies, a test of Reddit's engagement, or even a lone cryptography enthusiast testing ciphers on the public. Others believe it may have hidden instructions, keys, or secrets that were only meant for a specific person to find, buried within the thousands of encoded posts. To this day, no one knows who ran A858, what its true purpose was, or if it's truly finished, and it remains one of the internet's most mysterious unsolved puzzles. Joanna Lopez. On multiple occasions in the late 1980s, viewers in Chicago witnessed something unsettling on their TV screens. A black and white screen displaying a grainy photo of a young woman with the text Joanna Lopez and a phone number beneath it. No audio, no explanation, just this image, often appearing during the sign-off of WMAQ-TV, an NBC affiliate. The image was very eerie, with Joanna's face barely visible in the poor quality broadcast, making it feel like something straight out of a creepypasta or analog horror. But the mystery goes even deeper. No official record of Joanna Lopez's disappearance or a missing persons report with that name tied to Chicago has ever been found publicly. Attempts to call the number displayed in the broadcast led nowhere, and archived news outlets have no clear reference to who she was or why the alert aired repeatedly. Some theories suggest it was an unsolved missing persons case that for whatever reason was quickly buried, a glitch in the emergency broadcast system, or something much darker, like an encoded message, human trafficking signal, or a test pattern for something else entirely. The fact that this broadcast actually happened, with screenshots and VHS captures preserved by viewers, just makes it even creepier. Unlike many internet mysteries, Joanna's case is real, but it remains unsolved and unexplained. This entry really creeps me out. I'm just so unnerved by how some people can completely disappear, leaving only a ghostly image on a late-night broadcast to remember them by. The Mandela Catalogue. Okay, I know we've had like a million analog horror series on this list, but I promise this is the last one for this video. The Mandela Catalogue is an analog horror series created by Alex Kister. The series is set in the fictional Mandela County in Wisconsin, which is being invaded by entities called alternates. These alternates' primary goal is to mentally destroy their victims until they assume their identity as a doppelganger. Like many others, the series uses imitation VHS quality overlays and presents itself as found footage. And like I've said, for every single analog horror series on this iceberg, I won't be covering every single episode in this entry. So if you're interested in it, I recommend checking out Alex's channel and maybe watching a video explaining the story. Truman Show Delusion. The Truman Show delusion is a mental disorder in which a person believes that every aspect of their life is a part of a staged television show. The name originates from the film The Truman Show, where Jim Carrey plays Truman Burbank, a man who slowly discovers his entire life has been an elaborate television production. The production is so intricate that every person Truman has ever interacted with is actually a paid actor performing to a worldwide audience. While the delusion is not considered an official disorder, there have been hundreds of cases reported. Since 2002, Joel Gold and his brother Ian have been researching the phenomenon, claiming one patient's case of the disorder was so extreme they traveled to New York City after 9/11 to verify that the attacks actually happened and weren't a plot twist in his own Truman Show. Another one of Gold's patients believed that in order to, quote, release himself from the show, he needed to climb the Statue of Liberty. This patient stated, "I realized that I was and am the center, the focus of attention by millions and millions of people. My family and everyone I knew was and are actors in a script, a charade whose entire purpose is to make me the focus of the world's attention." Even though this disorder isn't fully recognized by medical professionals, it's still an interesting case of grandiose delusions that were influenced by fictional media. Let me know in the comments if any of you have Truman Show-esque delusions. I promise you, I'm not an actor. Username 666. Username 666 is a creepypasta video posted by the Japanese YouTube channel Nana82573 in 2008. The video is a simple screen recording of someone searching 666 in the YouTube search bar, repeatedly refreshing the page until the entire website devolves into a fleshy monster. For a while during the early days of YouTube, the video was somewhat of an urban legend, with users reporting the video was haunted, crashed your PC, and made horrible things happen in your real life, similar to the cursed videotape from the Ring film series. That's really all there is to the video. It's an amazingly early creepypasta with some breathtaking digital effects. I strongly suggest you check it out if you somehow haven't seen it already. Republic of Benin. In 1967, during the chaos of the Nigerian Civil War, a short-lived secessionist state called the Republic of Benin was declared. This republic lasted for just 7 hours. It was declared on September 19, 1967, and collapsed on September 20th when Nigerian federal troops retook the city. There's really not much to say for this entry, it's just super crazy that this place officially existed for 7 hours and was basically immediately disbanded. Gate Tower Building. The Gate Tower Building is an office building in Osaka, Japan, known for the fact it has an entire highway off-ramp passing through the building. During the Meiji period, a wood and charcoal business held the property rights for the building's plot of land. In 1983, redevelopment of the plot was approved, but building permits were refused since a highway was already being planned. The plot owners somehow negotiated with the Hanshin Expressway Corporation to build the highway through the office building. To get this unique construction approved, multiple highway, city planning, and city development laws were revised in 1989 to allow the combined construction. The Gate Tower building still stands to this day and is currently the only building in the world with the highway passing through it. Other similar buildings are either roads or monorails, so I won't be counting those. Sealand. Sealand is one of the strangest countries in the world, and I say countries in heavy air quotes. Sealand is a self-declared micronation on an abandoned World War II sea fort in the North Sea, about 7 miles off the coast of England. In 1967, a man named Paddy Roy Bates occupied this old British anti-aircraft platform and declared the Principality of Sealand, claiming independence from the United Kingdom. He gave himself the title Prince Roy, wrote a constitution, created a national flag, and even started issuing passports and currency. The United Kingdom initially tried to remove him, but a court ruled that because Sealand was outside the UK's territorial waters at the time, British laws didn't apply, allowing Roy and his family to continue ruling their nation. In 1978, there was an armed coup attempt when a group of German and Dutch individuals tried to take over Sealand, leading to a hostage situation before Roy Bates recaptured the fort. While Sealand is not officially recognized by any country, it continues to operate its website, sell titles like Lord and Lady of Sealand, and maintain its claim of independence. Norfolk Southern-Gregson Street Overpass. The Norfolk South Gregson Street Overpass, also known as the Can Opener Bridge, is a railroad bridge in Durham, North Carolina. The bridge was designed in the 1920s with a clearance for vehicles of 11 feet and 8 inches, the standard height when it opened. Since 1973, the standard clearance for bridges was increased to a minimum height of 14 feet, although bridges constructed before this date were not required to be rebuilt to meet the increased clearance requirement. Despite numerous warning signs about the low clearance, a large number of trucks, buses, and RVs have collided with the overpass at high speeds. The bridge gained fame when a nearby office worker, Jürgen Henn, set up cameras to track the collisions with the bridge. Since April 2008, he has recorded over 180 crashes and posted them on YouTube. If you have some free time, the videos are kind of bizarrely entertaining. Island of California. At one point in history, California was believed to be an island, and this wasn't just a fringe theory. For over 100 years, European explorers, map makers, and even kings genuinely thought California was a massive island drifting off the western coast of North America. The origins of this myth dates back to the early 1500s, inspired by a popular Spanish romance novel called Las Serges de Esplandian, which described a paradise island ruled by Amazonian warrior women named California. When Spanish explorers sailed along Baja California, they assumed they had found this legendary place, and early maps began depicting California separated from the mainland. Despite evidence from explorers like Juan Bautista de Anza showing it was connected to the mainland, the island of California continued to appear on maps well into the 1700s. It wasn't until 1747 that King Ferdinand VI of Spain officially declared that California was, in fact, not an island. Death Zone. The Death Zone is referring to the 50-square-mile strip of land in Yellowstone National Park known as the Zone of Death. It isn't marked on signs and there's no fence around it, but it exists due to a legal loophole that could technically allow someone to get away with murder. Here's how it works. Yellowstone National Park spans across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, but the entire park falls under the jurisdiction of the Wyoming Federal District Court. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a jury trial, and it states the jury must be made up of people from the state and the federal district where the crime was committed. The problem is that no one lives in the Idaho portion of Yellowstone. If a serious crime like murder were committed there, there would be no eligible jury to lawfully conduct a trial, making prosecution legally impossible. Thankfully, no known crimes have tested this legal anomaly, but its mere existence has fueled urban legends, creepypastas, and a lot of online discussion about how the American legal system isn't as airtight as some claim it to be. A non-existent existing island. For over a century, maps showed an island called Sandy Island in the Coral Sea between Australia and New Caledonia. It appeared on nautical charts, in digital maps, and even on Google Earth as a black polygon floating in the ocean. The island was first discovered in 1876 by a whaling ship, which logged its position, and it was marked on many maps after that. But here's the weird part. Sandy Island doesn't actually exist. In 2012, a team of Australian scientists sailing through the area decided to check out Sandy Island for themselves, and found nothing but open ocean, 4,800 feet deep, where land was supposed to be. It was a ghost island, present in atlases, weather maps, and global databases, but completely absent in reality. After the scientists reported their findings, Sandy Island was removed from Google Maps and nautical charts, but no one is entirely sure how it ended up on so many maps for so long. Some believe it was a cartographer's error that copied over from map to map, while others suggest it was a pumice raft mistaken for land or a mirage seen by early sailors. 1956 Olympic Flame Hoax. During the 1956 Summer Olympics in Melbourne, Australia, a prank unfolded that has become one of the strangest moments in Olympic history. The Olympic torch relay had just arrived in Sydney, with crowds gathering to watch the ceremonial flame be carried through the streets. But just before the official runner was set to arrive, a university student named Barry Larkin decided to pull off a stunt. Larkin, wearing a tracksuit and looking official enough, ran into the crowd holding a makeshift torch made out of a chair leg, a can of flaming kerosene, and a pair of old underwear. The crowd cheered, thinking it was the real Olympic flame. Even the city's mayor came out to greet him, giving a speech before realizing that something was off. When the mayor reached for the torch, Larkin handed it over and disappeared into the crowd. The torch quickly fell apart, revealing the prank to everyone. Meanwhile, the actual torchbearer arrived moments later, only to find the crowd confused and the mayor embarrassed, having already made his speech to a flaming can of underwear. While this prank was relatively harmless, it remains an infamous and bizarre moment in Olympic history and shows how events as official as the Olympic Games can be duped with just a little bit of confidence and timing. 2018 Makassar mayoral election. In 2018, something unusual happened in the city of Makassar, Indonesia. During its mayoral election, the incumbent mayor, Muhammad Ramdan Pamanto, was disqualified from running for re-election shortly before voting day due to a legal technicality. His only challenger had already withdrawn from the race, leaving no official candidates on the ballot. Despite this, Indonesian election laws required the election to proceed, leading to a rare none-of-the-above election. Voters were presented with a ballot where they could either vote for the empty column representing the single withdrawn candidate, or they could vote against it, effectively voting for no one. In a surprising outcome, the none-of-the-above option won, with the empty column receiving more votes than the withdrawn candidate. This meant that the election was declared invalid and Makassar was placed under interim leadership until a new election could be held. Sexually active popes. This entry refers to the list of Catholic priests who were sexually active before and after they had become the pope. The list is really long, so I won't be getting into the ones who were legally married or had legitimate children, so we're only going to be covering those who were suspected of having illegitimate children after receiving their holy orders. Julius II was not married and harbored 3 illegitimate daughters, one of which was Felice della Rovere, one of the most powerful women during the Italian Renaissance. Julius reigned as pope for 10 years. During that time, the Conciliabellum of Pisa sought to remove him from the position, as well as accusing him of sodomy. Paul III had 3 sons and 1 daughter with his mistress Silvia Ruffini after his appointment as Cardinal Deacon of Santi Cosimo in Damiano. Paul would break up with Silvia in 1513, later making his son Pier Luigi Farnese the first Duke of Parma. Gregory XIII received his holy orders in 1539. He would subsequently have an affair in 1548, resulting in the birth of Giacomo Boncompagni in 1558. That's really all there is to mention in this entry. I don't want to make this video a whole hour of popes' relationships, so I'll just leave it there. Let me know if you want me to cover this topic in full though. And that's the end of today's section of the dark side of the internet iceberg. I just want to say, thank you guys so much for all the support you showed us on the last volume. It really means the world to us, and we weren't expecting this much support. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching all the way through, and you might as well subscribe and like the video. I mean, you already made it this far. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on TikTok and join our Discord server. The links are down in the description, as well as the link to the original Iceberg. Have a great rest of your night, or day, or whatever time it is for you. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video, where we go even deeper into the depths of this iceberg. See ya.